Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your WWE Summerslam 2018 preview and predictions. We have got 13 matches to predict today, John. 13. This is absolutely ridiculous. We've got 3 pre-show matches, 10 main card matches, and out of those 13 matches, 9 of them have championships on the line, plus Braun Strowman's Money in the Bank briefcase is also on the line. This is absolute insanity. This is the biggest card that we've had since WrestleMania. SummerSlam is called the second biggest show of the year and the party of the summer for a reason. This show is I'm not even going to say it's stacked in the sense that it's good. It's just loaded with how much stuff we have to unpack.
Absolutely, man. Look, you already know I'm not a big fan of, really big match cards. I know generally it is quality over quantity. I get that. But I feel like you get to a point where it's like it's a little too much. I get that 3 of these are on the pre-show, but still, like, these are actually there are some pre-show matches on here that actually do have stakes. I mean, the Cruiserweight Championship and the Raw Tag titles, and then the other pre-show match involves people that we actually like. So they really do have our balls in a vice here. It's not like, I could just honestly, I'm more hyped about some of the matches on the pre-show than some of the stuff on the main card. And speaking of hype, I've really been thinking, because I was really excited to do preview predictions with you today, how hyped am I for SummerSlam when I look at it honestly? And there are some matches that I'm definitely really excited for, others that I'm just really meh for. I think at the end of the day, and maybe even some people would regard this as generous, I'm coming in with a 7.5, maybe even an 8 out of 10. But I'll go 7.5 for now. I think I'm going that more.
So very impressive. See, I just want to tell you, having typed out this card physically and had to actually kind of go over the card to kind of figure out how I was going to order things in the description and stuff like that, I'm sitting at around a 6.5 because there are very few matches out of the 13 that I'm genuinely excited for. And the ones that I'm least excited for are also probably the ones that are going to get the most time. So I'm a little cooler on this show than you, but a 6.5 is still relatively high if you compare it to all the other WWE pay-per-views that we cover. Because normally, a 6 would be high because our usual range is like 2 to 5 for most WWE shows as far as hype level goes. So, I guess props to WWE for putting together a card that it's at least a little more intriguing than their usual shit. But still, you're at a 7.5. I'm at a 6.5. Compare that to TakeOver that we talked about last night. You were at a 9. I was at a 9.5. So just to kind of give you guys an idea of where we are as far as hype levels. But John, we've got 13 matches. So if you're ready, we can actually get going.
Yeah, brother, I'm going to tell you, it is raging outside right now for me. There's a huge storm. Even Mother Nature couldn't contain her excitement for our preview and predictions, so let's get into this shit.
Yeah, all right. So we have 3 matches on the pre-show, on the kickoff, but 2 of them are for championships. So the one that we're going to talk about first is Rusev and Lana versus Andrade, Cien, Almas, and Zelina, Vega. The mixed tag match, I'm assuming this is going to be kind of like the MMC rules where if a female is in, the other female has to be in. If a man is in, the other male has to be in, that kind of thing. So based on that, I am going to pick Cien and Vega to win, with Vega beating Lana yet again.
I completely agree with that. Honestly, there's nothing more to say than that. I think Aiden's going to stick his nose in this again, and that's exactly what's going to give Team Tranquilo the win. So Andrade and Zelina all the way.
Oh, I love it. Team Tranquilo, and then Ella even said Team Elation.
Yes.
Love it. All right, so we were going to get Zelina and Andrade picking up another win on a pay-per-view, which is nice. Maybe the next time on a pay-per-view, they could actually be on the main card. Imagine that. Up next, though, we do have 2 other championship matches, but one of them is on Monday Night Raw, and the other one is on 205 Live. So as much as we've been enjoying 205 Live lately, it is sort of objectively the less important championship of the 2 being defended on the kickoff show. So we will talk about Cedric Alexander defending the Cruiserweight Championship against Drew Gulak next. John, I really, really want to pick Gulak to win this, but I'm not so sure if I'm going to. Before I give my official prediction, because I'm still kind of waffling in my head a little bit, let's hear what you have to say.
Well, even before that, I want to read out this $4.99 super chat from Storyteller Wes. Shout out to my wonderful girlfriend Samantha, for whom SummerSlam will be her first wrestling pay-per-view ever. I hope she has an amazing time. I still, in all my years of being a WWE fan, have never been to a WWE event. So I hope that it goes really well for her. But Ashton, you seem to put the ball in my court. So I'm just going to give my breakdown for this match. I really have no dog in this fight in the sense that I like both guys. I think Cedric's a solid, reliable champion in the sense that you will always get a good match out of him, a great title defense out of him. Gulak, I think, has really hit his stride. I think he's a great heel. He's legit, a lot like, Baszler and Rousey, which we'll get to later. He's got that technical acumen, and I love that he's got his posse with Gallagher and Kendrick behind him. I think he'd make a great Cruiserweight champion. My argument's already been that, with him being safe and sound, feet on the ground, that is completely antithetical to the aesthetic and the promotion of 205 Live. So I think it would just be a great narrative with Gulak as heel champion. But I've already said that I think Lio Rush is going to beat Cedric Alexander. So with that in mind, he has to retain here against Gulak. So I'm going with Cedric Alexander to retain.
You know what? Oh, man, just really trying to think about Cedric Alexander's title reign and who there is on 205 Live left for him to face. I think Lio Rush makes a ton of sense. But at the same time, I don't really know if they're ready to push Lio Rush to the Cruiserweight Championship this soon. And I don't know who else Cedric could feud with while they kind of prep Lio Rush for his title push. So for now, I'm going to go with the title change. I'm going to say Gulak is going to win. I think Gulak has more potential opponents to feud with over the next month or two. And maybe he'll have a shorter title reign and he'll end up dropping it in like a multi-man match where, it's him and a babyface and Lio Rush, and Lio pins the babyface to become champion. I don't know. We'll see. For now, though, I'm going to pick Gulak because to me, you have to go with the hot hand in situations like this. And while Cedric Alexander is always going to put on solid matches, I feel like Drew Gulak's momentum is way more powerful than Cedric's right now. I feel like Cedric is kind of starting to kind of fade off a little bit, but Drew is just hotter than ever. He is great in the ring, great at the talking segments that he has. I really, this might be more of like a wishful thinking pick than anything, but I am going to pick Drew to win the title. And I guess then we can move on to our third and final pre-show match, or kickoff, I should say, kickoff match. And this is the Raw Tag Team titles, the B Team defending the Raw Tag titles against the Revival. John, I'm going to go there. I'm going to say it. I think the Revival is going to pick up the win here. I think we're going to have new Raw Tag champs.
I agree with you, man. And I only say that honestly because AOP seem to be in such a weird place right now. I could not buy them as tag champions, which to do that, I would feel like B Team would have to retain here. But because AOP is in such a place contrary to where I thought they'd be at this point in time, I say pull the trigger on the Revival and let them revive, pun totally intended, the Raw Tag division. So I'm actually going to agree with you on this. Revival to become new tag team champions.
Yeah, and this is kind of a situation, too, where even if the B Team does retain, I won't be super disappointed by it because I think if B Team retains, I've got my eyes on the prize. If the Revival can't be the team to dethrone the B Team, I'm looking to November, and I'm looking to the Undisputed Era being called up around Survivor Series and hoping that they can be the ones to dethrone the B Team.
Yeah, dude, I would love that. Are you kidding me? Oh God, I just want Undisputed Era, again, pun intended, I guess, given this weekend, to take over upon their main roster call up. Just one rough shot over every motherfucker. So I would really be rooting for you to be right there. But in the moment of you and I just looking at what's right in front of us and what we know exists and what is possible, I say giving the belts to the Revival are smart. And I'd like to see them get more mic time because ever since they had that one promo about how they're not showmen, they're bringing real wrestling back to, quote unquote sports entertainment and stuff like that. I've wanted them to get more mic time. I've wanted them to make a statement. I feel like they've gotten lost in the shuffle. No better way to refocus a team, especially given that I'm trying to think in terms of WWE booking, than to just slap the belts on them and see what happens. Like if you're going to do a trial run with anybody, do it with the fucking Revival and just let them score 1 touchdown in their WWE careers. So I'm going with the Revival here.
Yeah, man. All right. So that's the kickoff. John, I actually wanted to talk to you. I guess we should have talked about this before, but what better than talking about it live? Do you want to react to the pre-show matches?
I just assumed we were going to, man. So
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds great. We'll be live reacting to those matches the same way that we live reacted to the Extreme Rules kickoff matches, where we'll have a separate, live event for each individual pre-show match. And then when the actual main show starts, that'll just be one long solid recording. So we're going to do individual recordings for the pre-show matches. And then when the main show starts, we will just go live and stay live throughout the whole thing. And the main reason for that is because we like to kind of try and avoid everything in between the matches on the pre-show, because they show a lot of stuff that gets replayed then during the main show. That said, though, John, speaking of the main show, that's what we have to predict left. And I mean, I say that as if it's not much, but we've got 10 matches on the main show here. And the 2 non-title matches, and I say non-title, kind of including Money in the Bank in that title category, are Finn Balor versus Baron Corbin and Daniel Bryan versus The Miz. I think it's safe to say everyone would agree that Balor Corbin is a far less interesting, far less sort of important match. So let's talk about that first. Balor Corbin, who you got?
I just want to preface this by saying I've kind of been doing some thinking lately, like about how I address my opinions on here. And I shared with you that Suzuki tweet I read a while ago, like, don't let the critic in you, I guess, spoil the magic. And so I've decided, you know what? Matches that I don't really give a shit about, I'm not really going to rant on anymore. Because, like, if they're not going to expend the energy to do better with the talent they have, I'm not really going to expend energy to complain about something that ain't going to change. It's like yelling at a brick wall. So I'm going to say here, I honestly think Corbin's going to win. And the only reason I'm not going to rant is I think Balor does deserve better than this personally. I actually like what Corbin's doing. Corbin isn't the problem here. I just feel like, Balor should be doing something else. But I think Corbin's going to get the win here. And what he does after that, God only knows. So Corbin for the win. Who do you got?
Oh, man, this is so hard because, like, I've actually heard some rumors that the WWE does still see Finn Balor as a potential star, and that since he came back from that big injury, the separated shoulder or whatever it was, they've been hesitant to really get behind him because they didn't want him to get injured again. So this like 1.5 to 2 years that he's just been in purgatory, the rumor is basically that it's been like a test to see if he can stay healthy. So, I mean, based on that, I almost have to believe that they see Balor as above Corbin, at least in the future, if not, going forward. So I'm going to just say Balor's going to win again. And again, this does kind of relate back to what I said on our last preview and predictions with Balor Corbin being a match on Extreme Rules. It's like what we would have gotten between Bryan and Big Cass if Big Cass hadn't fucked up and gotten fired. So Bryan ended up winning the first 2 and the only 2 matches that they had on pay-per-view. Maybe the original plan was for Cass to win the second one. Maybe the original plan is for Corbin to win the second one here, but just based on what I do know, or at least what I've heard, I'm going to go with Balor for kind of an upset. And I also think that you kind of continue having more kind of pent up frustration from Corbin, where maybe eventually he'll kind of snap and kind of give the whole, I spend so much time making sure Raw's a better place that I haven't been able to focus on my own career. And now I'm quitting as the Constable of Raw and I'm going to win the Universal title or whatever the hell it is he sets his sights on. So I'm going to pick Balor to win here. Corbin losing as the Constable just kind of feels right, doesn't it?
I mean, it certainly does. I don't disagree with a thing that you said here. I just am very apathetic about the story in place because, as you also, said a while about, like, this really is a just copy paste of Big Cass Bryan. And to be fair, Bryan did win both of those matches. Granted, Cass would get released shortly thereafter. I don't see Corbin as that type of employee. I see him as more stable than Cass. Maybe that's why I'm giving him the win. But everything you said about Balor and everything you said about going forward, I hope that's true. I'm just falling on the more cynical side, which, again, is why I'm not even going to rant about it. I'm just going to get straight to the prediction. Corbin for the win.
Yeah. All right. So up next, then, our only other non-title match, the only other match on this show or on the main card that doesn't have major stakes, is a match that has a lot of backstory, a lot of history to it. Daniel Bryan versus The Miz. So this is one of those situations where it feels like a big deal, even though the actual winner of the match doesn't really matter all that much. And because of that, I'm really tempted to just say The Miz wins here, because I think The Miz is, first of all, if there are, I mean, the thing is, there's been so many different reports about the status of Bryan's contract situation and whether he has already re-signed or if he's planning on not re-signing or whatever. But basically, taking everything into account, if Bryan has signed, they want him and The Miz to probably have a big match at WrestleMania. And you can't do that if Bryan just looks better the whole way. If Bryan hasn't re-signed, you don't want him to get any momentum before he leaves for New Japan or AAA or Ring of Honor or CMLL or wherever the hell it happens to be that he wants to go. So I think either way, whether Bryan has re-signed or not, your best bet here is to put the title, or to put the win on The Miz. And I said put the title on The Miz because I really do think that unless Joe beats AJ Styles at this show or the next show or whenever it happens to be, however long their feud goes on for, I do think that The Miz needs to be the next WWE champion if Samoa Joe isn't. So that's the place that I'm coming from. I'm going to pick The Miz to win this, give him some momentum. He'll probably find a way to win by cheating, but that's all that we need from him because that's what he does. That's how he wins most of his big matches, is by just kind of finding a cheaty way. So The Miz is like the Toru Yano of WWE, but just less efficient. So yeah, I'm going to go with The Miz to win here. What do you think, man?
I think your articulation of things was absolutely perfect. I mean, really, we could just do a copy paste and move on. But I will say, additionally, if I may, that yeah, Miz has been fantastic. Last I heard from Bryan, according to Bryan himself, I forget where he did this interview, he said he's 90% sure he's going to re-sign with WWE. But that 10%, though, it's kind of an ominous thing, and it's something that shouldn't be neglected. So, again, I do agree with everything you said. I'm not even going to retread that ground. I have two responses. One, I want Bryan to be happy. Obviously, that's the immediate response. Whatever he wants to do, whatever makes him and his family happy, fine. Obviously, I want that. On the more selfish side, I have made no bones. I do want him to re-sign because my WrestleMania 35 vision is him winning the WWE title at the expense of The Miz. And so, again, I agree with everything you said. I hope we get that feud, but it would be great for Miz to get the win here because what makes him so effective as a heel, and I think Bryan's even, said this himself in his own way, when Miz succeeds, he doesn't shut up about it. And Bryan is going to have to just keep hearing that shit up until presumably January if he wins the Royal Rumble or if they find another way to establish, him as a contender. So he's going to have to hear that for months and months and months. I think it's just it's a gimme story. It's a gimme story and it's a great story. You just got to pull the trigger and it begins with Miz getting the win. So I will agree with you. I will say that Miz is winning this match.
All right, man. Well, I guess that's another match that we both agree on. Now, we got another SmackDown match here, and quite frankly, if the title wasn't on the line, this probably would have been the first or maybe even second match that we talked about, because the Bludgeon Brothers defending the SmackDown tag titles against the New Day. I feel like this is a match that we've seen a few times already, and even though these are both teams that I think can be good in the ring and can have good matches, I just haven't found any of their matches against each other particularly compelling. So I'm curious what you think is going to happen here.
Again, a match I'm very apathetic towards, if I'm truthful, so I'm not going to rant about how things should be. I'm just going to look at things for as they are. Bludgeon Brothers have been quite disappointing. And really beyond that, I don't really know who they face from here. I personally am of the mindset that the New Day are going to win the tag titles and then maybe keep feuding with the Bar, because that was a very competitive tag match they had. And, maybe Bludgeon Brothers can kind of get reset a little bit, kind of get some of their momentum back. Because ideally, they would have been on a dominant run. They would have been unstoppable. But I think you need a more robust division to kind of do a vision like that. And then I would have had, War Raiders come up and beat them for it, which I feel like would have been great. But they just don't have that kind of mileage. I don't think War Raiders is anywhere near getting called up, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. So to me, you go to the next best thing. You put the titles on the New Day. You have them resume feuding with the Bar until either we get some new tag teams or we make compelling again the tag teams that we already have, whichever one is easier for WWE to do. And I'm leaning on the side of new tag teams because they're gobbling up talent like nobody's business. So I'm actually going to go with New Day for a title change here. That's where I'm leaning.
Nice. Okay. So yeah, this is so interesting though, because like I agree with you that the Bludgeon Brothers have really kind of run their course. But I also feel like SmackDown has really dropped the ball with their matches. Because to me, with the Bludgeon Brothers, what you really want to see against the Bludgeon Brothers is a team that can go toe to toe with them, either from a sort of energy and like chaotic and just like, over the top standpoint, or from a size standpoint. And with that, you think, okay, well, energy wise, and like I even said, chaotic and that kind of stuff, Sanity would make sense to go against the Bludgeon Brothers. And then size wise, the Bar makes a ton of sense to go against the Bludgeon Brothers. But the problem is, all three of those teams are heel. So all of the Bludgeon Brothers' best opponents are opponents that don't make sense to go against them because of alignment. So I feel like the biggest dropped ball was keeping the Bar heel. I feel like you have to, when you see things the way that they've been, and you see like, okay, the Bludgeon Brothers are a heel team, we want to keep them heel, but they need to start having decent matches on pay-per-views or people are just going to not care, and they really kind of already don't. And the Bar have been gone for a while, and when they come back, they're probably going to get a decent response. Let's put the Bar against some heel teams, get them some momentum, and put them in number one contendership spot so that they can give the Bludgeon Brothers what would most likely be the best match of the Bludgeon Brothers run as tag champs. So that's where I'm a little bit confused and a little bit kind of confounded about the way that the Bludgeon Brothers have been sort of treated and booked and stuff like that. But because of the way that they have been, I'm with you, man. I think this is going to be a tag title change. I think that SmackDown sees that the Bludgeon Brothers are sort of a sinking ship. And not even that they're bad performers, just that they have no momentum and no one really seems to care about them. New Day are still a hot act. Everyone still loves the New Day. So they're like the safe choice. And the New Day versus the Usos is kind of always that well that you can go back to. Plus, we already saw New Day versus the Bar. Awesome freaking match. New Day versus Sanity then kind of opens up. So yeah, I think New Day's going to win. And that's going to open up a lot of possibilities for tag chat title matches on pay-per-views for SmackDown that haven't really been there for the last couple months, because the Bludgeon Brothers, and you need like a very specific kind of opponent to have a really good match, I think.
Right. No, I completely agree with you. Absolutely.
All right. So we are both picking picking the New Day to win the titles. Next up, we've got Shinsuke Nakamura versus Jeff Hardy. I think this is a little bit on the easier side because Jeff Hardy is dealing with some serious like medical shit from what I can understand, like injuries that have piled up and that kind of stuff. So I'm just going to say Nakamura wins, and maybe we don't see Jeff Hardy for a little while.
Nakamura wins. Simple as that.
Yeah. You know what, though? Before we move on, I'm curious. Nakamura winning, who do you think is going to be his sort of next in line to challenge for the U.S. title if, Jeff Hardy is going to get, I'm assuming, taken out by Randy Orton?
You know what, Ashton? Now, let me just preface this by saying that I don't think I'm correct in the slightest, because I am trying to be more logical here. But just looking at the predictions we've made so far, if Bryan loses to Miz, it doesn't make sense that he get elevated to the WWE title, because we're both agreeing that it's kind of Miz's terrain. Maybe we finally get that dream Bryan-Nakamura matchup out of the way, because WWE, if Bryan doesn't re-sign, they're going to want to milk all the dream matches they can out of him before he leaves. And I could see him having a brief program with Nakamura for the U.S. title, which was the first title Bryan won in the WWE. So I'll say Daniel Bryan.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, we've already seen examples where guys will lose a big match and the winner of that match will go to the world title picture, and then the loser of that match goes to the mid-card title picture. So yeah, that's definitely a possibility. So all that being said, you and I both picked Nakamura to retain. Next up, though, let's talk about the other mid-card title, the Intercontinental Championship. Dolph Ziggler with Drew McIntyre in his corner, taking on Seth Rollins with the freshly returned Dean Ambrose in his corner. How do you think this is going to play out, man?
I'm going to surprise people here a little bit, because I'm again going to speak from two streams of thought. You know what I want to happen, Ashton. You've known it for months. I'd love for Ambrose to turn on Rollins, lay him out, be a heel, because he's definitely got the look to be. I love how Ambrose came back. Like, he put in his fucking time. He looks great. And I am really excited for the run he's going to have. And I'd love for him to turn on Rollins. Maybe I'm in the minority here, but I think it'd be a great feud to go into the fall. And Lord knows WWE needs great feuds to go into the fall, because we always say that's their dipping point. However, that's not the line of argument I'm going to stand behind. The story has been that Rollins can't beat Dolph Ziggler because of Drew McIntyre. Because that influence is now negated with Ambrose's presence, logic dictates that with the way this story is gone, Rollins is going to become the new Intercontinental Champion. And that's exactly where I'm going, because the story being told isn't a friend being stabbed in the back. They may start that narrative the day after SummerSlam. It's not going to be at SummerSlam. The narrative being told is, this guy is champion because of his heavy. His heavy screws me over every time. So I need somebody to counterbalance that influence. And once that happens, I can win. Or essentially, to make it even simpler, I can win in a fair fight. And we even saw that in the Iron Man match. Rollins was up several falls. It was because of McIntyre that Ziggler even got back in the fight to begin with. So because Dean's out there, to me, the most logical answer is Rollins becomes the new Intercontinental Champion.
Wow. Wow.
Really, is that the wow? Is it like, because I thought I was very logical there, but I don't know. What are you thinking?
No, it's really more that I'm just not sure what to think of this situation, because like Ambrose being out there, it makes it almost too obvious that Rollins is going to win, because he has like the equalizer now, and it almost makes me think that the equalizer might cost him the title. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm not really sure where to go with this. Ziggler and Drew. You know what? I'm going to say this. I think that the Dolph Ziggler Drew McIntyre story is one that the WWE is going to want to put off for a longer time than they're willing to put off Seth and Ambrose. So I'm going to side with you for now, and I am going to pick Seth to win the title, new Intercontinental Champion, and maybe even after he gets that title, as he's celebrating, we get the Dean turn.
Which, I mean, you could even say, now this isn't to crowbar it in. You already heard my logic. That's the logic I'm standing by. But you could even like say, like, I wanted to hurt you the most, and that would be by taking a championship from you and taking it for myself. So Dean could just be opportunistic in that case, which that could be an interesting narrative as well. But either way, we're both picking Seth to win the title. Should be a good matchup. So
yeah, man, this is one of the matches that I'm looking forward to. And not even just because, like, oh, Dolph versus Seth is going to be a good match, more because of the story and, honestly, the guys outside the ring. I care more about Drew McIntyre and Dean Ambrose than I care about Seth and Dolph right now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would absolutely agree with that.
It's not a huge margin because, like, Seth and Drew are kind of on a similar level as far as how much I like and care about them, but Dean blows Dolph Ziggler out of the way right now as far as how much I care about them and I'm interested in what they do. So yeah, the guys on the outside are definitely more interesting to me than the guys actually in the ring. That said, though, let's move on. Our sixth match. We have 5 matches left here, guys. It's the 2 women's titles matches, the Money in the Bank match, and the 2 world titles. So the Money in the Bank match is going to be kind of smack dab in the middle of everything, because that's probably more important than any non-world titles, but it really does have world title implications, but it's not actually for a championship. It's just, world title implications, like I said. So of the 2 women's matches, the one that I'm looking forward to more, but the one that is definitely being portrayed as the less important of the 2, is Carmella defending the SmackDown Women's title against both Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair in a triple threat. And I got to tell you, man, this is one of those matches where I was really looking forward to Becky versus Carmella, and not just because like I thought it was going to be a good match or anything, more because of the story. And then Charlotte got wedged in there. And of course, everyone has been frustrated about this, not because they hate Charlotte like we do, but because everyone kind of sees that this is Becky Lynch's time. This needs to be Becky Lynch's time. And because of that, I think Carmella is going to retain, but, and there's a big but in there, I believe it or not, I think Carmella is going to retain by pinning Charlotte Flair So then Becky Lynch, first of all, has more reason to complain that Charlotte was in the match because Becky didn't get pinned and still couldn't win the title despite having not been pinned. And because of that, then Becky can get her one-on-one match with Carmella at Clash of Champions. That's where I'm going. That's what I think is optimal. So I'm picking Carmella to retain by beating Charlotte specifically.
You know what, man? I think a simple copy paste, because here's the thing. I keep thinking about Evolution, but what I also have to be mindful of, which I haven't been mindful of every time we've talked, and I'm trying to be mindful about it here. Evolution isn't until October, and late October at that. That's quite a bit of time to fill. I think that's at least 2 pay-per-views to fill before Evolution, if I'm not mistaken. So to me, because I had this whole idea, you know, Carmella would pin Charlotte, you know, so I would agree with you there. But then, like, Charlotte would turn heel, her and Becky would, like, fight it out, and maybe they could. But I just think keeping something going like that until Evolution is a bit So what I think instead is going to happen, I'll agree with you. Carmella's going to pin Charlotte. I agree with pretty much everything you're saying. I do think, here's what I'm hoping for, okay? Because I have nothing to back this up. Here's just what I'm hoping for. I hope we have Charlotte turn heel and not Becky. Because, like, I know people are afraid that Becky's going to turn heel. I'm mortified of that fact. I think she's one of the best baby faces in the company, period. You turn her heel, I can't even begin to describe what you're flushing down the toilet in terms of talent and this and that. I would like heel Charlotte versus Becky in a number 1 contenders match to be a match on one of the 2 pay-per-views, like between Now and Evolution. And then Becky wins that, and then she gets her crowning moment at Evolution. That's my end game for me. At the first ever all women's pay-per-view for the SmackDown Women's Championship match, Becky gets her second ever reign with the title. I think it's a nice bow on everything. You know how WWE is with their promotion and their marketing. They're gonna want to say, have Michael Cole say 5,000 times, "What a moment! What a moment! What a moment!" Well, I think that's a moment for Becky Lynch and all her fans, is to win her second title at the first ever all women's pay-per-view. It's just a matter of how you get there and you sustain the momentum narratively. So maybe, you know, Carmella pins Charlotte, then Becky gets one match with Carmella, but Charlotte screws her out of it. Charlotte turns heel, then it's Becky and Charlotte. Becky wins again, and she's like, well, now that Charlotte's out of the way, I want one more shot at Carmella. Let's do it at Evolution.
See, yeah, and the reason that I'm going with what I said is because I don't trust WWE to maintain Becky's momentum long enough for them to pull that off. I don't trust them to give her wins against Charlotte consistently, so she just gets this one win, and then all of a sudden, like, yeah, she's, you know, getting the one-on-one match.
Right. And hey, your skepticism is well-founded. We will wait and see, but in the meantime, I do agree with you in the immediate moment that Carmella is just going to pin Charlotte and retain the championship.
Yeah. So now, oh man, now we get to another match that a lot of people are saying, oh, it's obvious, it's obvious, it's obvious. And whenever people say that something is super obvious about WWE, I kind of immediately pump the brakes a little bit, because a lot of the time WWE will do things for the sake of being unpredictable, even when they don't necessarily make sense. So John, I'm curious, before I give my prediction on Alexa Bliss defending the Raw Women's title against Ronda Rousey, I want to hear your thoughts first.
I don't know if you're swerving me here, because, like, I'm originally going to say, like, hearing you say that, like, those preliminary remarks leaves me kind of relieved, because I don't know if that's you expressing that you've had doubts, but I'm just going to be vulnerable here and say that I've had doubts.
Yeah.
Look, ideally, this should be a squash. I agree with everybody in the community that says this should be a squash. Let's get the Ronda reign over with. We know the end game inevitably is Charlotte Rousey at Mania. At least that's what it seems to be. Maybe WWE will surprise me. Again, like you, I have my own set of skepticism. But Alexa Bliss, man, and this is not me defending her. I did a rant of money. And again, I'm not in the business to rant today. I'm in too good a mood. She is the type of champion as a character. She always seems to find a way to win. And she's been incredibly honest. We've said one fault with the heel character she has is she tells the truth. And what truth has she said this time? That she was going to expose Ronda Rousey, she was going to beat her and prove that she was an overhyped rookie. I don't know, man. I'm actually far more torn on this match than I think a lot of people would say I have any right to be. Because like you, they probably tell me, come on, John, it's a foregone conclusion, which I think Bliss even used that terminology in her promo on the Go Home show. So I'm going to be that guy when I feel like I've been so well behaved and so logical throughout this whole preview and predictions. I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to jump ship. I'm going to say that Alexa Bliss inconceivably finds a way to retain the championship. I don't know, man. I just feel like she has been looking really bad. Even the moment she gets on Ronda, like, for example, on the Go Home show, when she throws Ronda into the barricade, Ronda recovers. She still ends the segment on top. I just feel like every segment has been Ronda on top. And I think they're almost trying to plant in us, and maybe this is the logic I'm trying to imbue in my insanity, but I think they've had her on top so often. It's to just condition us to expect that. This way, when we're expecting it again, rug gets pulled out. Oh, shit, Bliss is still champion. I don't like it either way. And again, I'm not going to go on. I've done plenty of rants on the women's division. You guys can go in our archive and look. I just think Bliss is going to retain and that she's not done her run yet. So, were you swerving me, or do you have the same doubts that I do?
I was having the exact same thoughts, man. I was definitely really like skeptical, I think is the best word for it. I'm really skeptical about this whole, obviously they're going to give Ronda the title, because everyone kind of sees WWE wants to do Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte at WrestleMania. But here's the thing. They don't have to do anything until the Royal Rumble to set that up. And even then, they don't even have to do anything at the Royal Rumble. They could very easily have someone win the Royal Rumble and then do something else completely to have Ronda versus Charlotte be for one of the titles, and then the Royal Rumble winner takes on the other title. Like, it doesn't have to work that way, where everything needs to get set up months out, and Ronda's going to win the title now and hold it till Mania, and Charlotte's going to win the title or whatever. It doesn't have to be set up 8 months ahead of time, and usually it isn't. So for me, I'm thinking there's a really good chance one of them wins a championship around the Rumble season, like either at Royal Rumble or at like Fastlane or Elimination Chamber or something like that, and the other wins the Royal Rumble match. And it doesn't even have to be Charlotte. Like, I've been saying Charlotte's going to win the Royal Rumble for months now, but it could just as easily be Charlotte winning a women's title on Fastlane or the Royal Rumble itself, or Elimination Chamber, and Ronda winning the Royal Rumble match. Like, I would prefer Ronda doesn't actually win a Royal Rumble match, because that's like Roman Reigns all over again with the massive push. But it's possible, and I won't write it off as not possible, because it is possible, and that's something WWE has shown a willingness to do. So given that, I think that Alexa Bliss for now is probably going to keep the title. And I don't know how. Maybe Natalya, if she is, emotionally able to do the job, and by do the job, I mean literally like do what WWE asks of her, not losing a match. Maybe Natalya will cost Ronda, and we'll get a Ronda versus Natalya feud for the next, 2 to 3 months. Then that'll kind of bide Ronda and keep her away from the title, while Alexa drops the title to hopefully either Ember Moon or Ruby Riott. I'm hoping it's Ember Moon, because then that could potentially mean that at Survivor Series we get Ember Moon versus Becky Lynch, and hell the fuck yes to that. So, and hell, even if it is Ruby versus Becky is another hell yes to that. So I'm predicting Alexa Bliss to retain here somehow, some way. And maybe it'll be Natalya, maybe it'll be Alicia Fox, maybe somehow Nia will find a way to do something. I don't know how it's going to happen, but they just keep having these two women, Carmella and Alexa, retain when all odds are against them. And this really, for Carmella especially, like if one of them drops the title, I genuinely feel like Carmella is more likely to drop the title than Alexa on this show. Because to me, you could just as easily have Carmella drop the title to Becky and do Carmella versus Becky one-on-one with Becky as the champion at Clash of Champions, rather than having Carmella be the champion and Becky continuing to challenge for it. So really, if one of the women's champions is going to drop the title, I genuinely believe Carmella is more likely to do that than Alexa Bliss. And it's crazy, because everyone has been saying, oh, it's obvious. Ronda's going to win. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think it's as obvious as everyone's saying. And even if it was that obvious, WWE would see it that way as well and probably want to swerve us. So I'm going with Alexa to win, just like you. And that's yet another one that you and I probably both thought the other person would disagree with that we ended up agreeing on. So, man, it's crazy.
Can I chime in actually with one more thing before we move
Please do, man. Yeah.
Another reason why I'm skeptical about Ronda even winning the title is I am actually buying into the rumor. Or actually, wait, was that for Survivor Series?
I thought no, you're right. The 4 horsewomen versus 4 horsewomen thing, that's set to be a Survivor Series thing. Yeah.
Okay, then I apologize. Then that was on me. I was getting ready to say that I heard a rumor about Evolution, but no, I got my pay-per-views mixed up. That's on me. So no, let's just leave everything as it was. Please continue. I apologize.
Okay. Well, the thing is, I mean, it's why were you about to say something about it if it was
because I was only going to say if that 4 horsemen versus 4 horsemen match was going to happen at Evolution, then that was going to convince me even more that Bliss is retaining, because they even said the Raw Women's title was going to be on the line, and I doubt that Rousey would have been booked on that show. So
okay.
That was
I gotcha.
Yeah. So that was my mistake. I apologize.
That makes sense. Yeah, and then the thing too is with like Survivor Series, a lot of the time you'll see the not a lot of the time, but in the last couple of years, I think we've seen, Raw champion versus SmackDown champion across the board. So, if Ronda holds the title on that show, I mean, I feel like they would almost be tempted to do Ronda versus Charlotte at Survivor Series and just have Charlotte win the SmackDown Women's title and have them face each other at Survivor Series. So that would be like the ultimate example of blowing your load early,
Absolutely, man. Completely agree.
All right, so now we've got 3 matches left, all singles matches. Braun Strowman is going to be facing Kevin Owens in a match where if Braun loses in any way, whether it's via pinfall, submission, countout, DQ, ref decision, anything, if Braun Strowman loses in any way, Kevin Owens will become the new Mr. Money in the Bank. And I'm going to just come out and say it, dude. I think that the stipulation is a swerve. I think that they are putting the stipulation out there for the sake of fooling everyone into thinking that it's unfair and that Braun Strowman can't possibly win in this situation and Kevin Owens is going to get Braun disqualified somehow or something along those lines. I think that what's basically going to happen is Braun is going to realize the stakes. He is going to stop putting up with Owens' bullshit. He is going to beat him in like 6 minutes. And it is going to be just a clean running power slam, 1, 2, 3. Braun wins and keeps the Money in the Bank.
And I agree.
Wow. I feel like we just had a conversation last week where you were so convinced that Owens was winning the briefcase.
But here's what changed my mind, because you're right, Ashton. I have been waffling a lot on this, and there was even a point where I came down like, oh, shit, setting it up, because I even saw Owens versus Reigns announced for the Hell in a Cell card, bearing in mind the card's subject to change. But the one thing that's like kept nagging at me is that the cage match that they had, because what was the last pay-per-view again? That was in
Extreme Rules.
Extreme Rules, thank you. Cage match they had, while Owens got stretchered out, by all accounts, he won the match because he escaped the cage first.
Right.
So, technically speaking, it's Braun that has to get his win back. And that's exactly what I think is going to happen. Like, Owens already won at Extreme Rules. Yeah, it was an ugly win, but it was still a win. And I think Braun has a lot to lose. And here's the thing. I've complained a lot, I will own up to that, about WWE's ineptitude. If they don't pull the trigger on Braun now, then I would just say they're never going to pull the trigger on him. But I do think they're going to pull the trigger on him. I don't think that they're going to make a shift this seismic, with the Universal Championship implications and everything. I think they're just going to keep it on Braun. And again, it's more about Braun getting his win back. That was the final nail in the coffin of my doubts, so to speak. So yeah, Braun to keep his case. No need to change it.
Yeah, and my thing too is that all of these matches that Braun has been losing to the likes of Kevin Owens and Jinder Mahal, he's not losing them unintentionally. He's giving them these wins because he cares less about winning the match than whatever the thing is that he's deciding to throw the match away for. Like with the cage match, he cared less about beating Kevin Owens on paper than throwing Kevin Owens off the top of that cell. So, and then like Jinder, he cared more about whatever it was that he was chasing than, beating Jinder Mahal in the ring. Like, he's been giving these matches away on purpose. But if he knows that if he loses the match, there are actual stakes and he's going to lose the Money in the Bank briefcase and you won't be able to call him the Monster in the Bank anymore, there's no fucking way he's just going to give the win away, even if Kevin Owens like taunts him and spits in his face like Christian did to Orton and stuff like that. Braun Strowman isn't going to get himself disqualified knowing what he has to lose. He's just going to destroy you even more now because you put him in a vulnerable position. Like, he's going to be in full fuck you mode and he's going to win pretty quickly, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, man. Absolutely.
All right. Well, wow. I'm shocked at how much we've been agreeing. What have we even disagreed about on this show?
I think we've disagreed about. I think because you went with Balor over Corbin, right? And
I did. Yeah, that was the one. That might have been the only match that we've disagreed on, though.
Yeah, it might have been. Damn.
Jeez. All right. Well, we've got 2 matches left. The 2 world title matches. First up, WWE Championship match. AJ Styles defending against Samoa Joe. And dude, I know that this is one that is so tempting to go one way. And you know what? I'm going to shut my mouth and let you talk because this is a match that I know you're very passionate about. So
this is the match I'm looking forward to most.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think a lot of people would agree with you, and I know I would agree with you. So yeah.
And mainly, and since you gave me I'm going to use all my time on the pulpit then, and then when I give it back to you, I'm going to shut my mouth. My interest is entirely because of Samoa Joe. This man is a fucking god. Like, this man, if we're saying that pro wrestling is at its best when you can talk people into the building, this guy is one of the best working right now. Like, God forbid him and Ciampa ever join forces. We are all fucked. Because then nobody is stopping that tandem. He is so good at what he does. I feel like he should already have a world title reign under his belt because he should have beaten Brock at Great Balls of Fire. I don't give a shit what anybody says. He was robbed that night. And I feel like Joe has still been working the stick and having matches, in a way that's like you could build either brand around him and he'd be legit. I think Joe is 38 years old at this point. Even if he is 37 and I'm a year off, like he's in his late 30s is my point.
39.
He's 39, so he's even older than I thought. He is in his late 30s, though still. I think you really should pull the trigger on him now. I read a great interview with him last night where everybody talked about how he influenced the game, with his style in the early 2000s. Like, I am a huge Samoa Joe fan. And one more thing also, because again, I'm using up all my time on the pulpit. I did a poll last night that there are still 3 hours left on it, but I don't even need those 3 hours. Just to tell you guys, this is the most voted poll I've ever done on Twitter, which follow me on Twitter at John_Twitwell. 43 votes. And I simply asked the question, do you want Joe to be WWE champion or do you want AJ to be champion? Notice the phrasing of my question. I didn't ask who are you predicting. I said, who do you want? Because I said outright, I want Joe to be WWE champion. 74% of the vote went Samoa Joe's way to AJ Styles is 26. So, and now granted, that's a small pool of wrestling fans, but it's a very vocal one ready for Joe. That said, here are the 2 big points we need to consider here. 1, 2K19 is coming out in 2 months, and AJ's the cover boy. And WWE, first and foremost, is a business, and it is in constant marketing mode. And the game, I want to say, comes out October 16th. In fact, I can look that up very quickly. So I believe for that reason that AJ is going to retain here. But I said there are 2 points to consider, and it's coming out October 9th. I think Hell in a Cell is October 16th, and that's what I was thinking of. This isn't going to be a one-match feud. It is way, way too personal for that with the territory that they've gone to. They are going to have a rematch undeniably at Hell in a Cell. And when we do Hell in a Cell preview and predictions, I don't even care if it is, crazy old John going with his gut. I will be picking Joe to win the title then. So to do that, you've got to set the table for Joe to get a rematch. And I see this happening one of 2 ways. AJ hits a phenomenal forearm. Maybe he pins Joe and his free leg is under the rope. The referee doesn't see it. Joe points to the footage. Paige is like, okay, I see where you're coming from. Do a rematch. Or B, AJ gets so emotional because his family's been invoked time and time again, he gets himself disqualified. Now, I got to pick one because if it's the one, AJ wins, but Joe has entitled to a rematch. If it's the other one, Joe wins, and, well, that's pretty obvious. And you know what? Given the nature of the feud, I'm actually going to be a bit different here. I'm going to say that Joe wins via disqualification so that we get our return match for Hell in a Cell. And I honestly do believe at this moment in time, because it'll be after 2K19's been released, and I think you want to keep Joe strong, at least in my opinion, that Joe is going to win the title at Hell in a Cell. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Joe winning via disqualification, and then he'll win again, like officially at Hell in a Cell when it's like no rules and he could just be the freaking monster.
So just to be clear, Hell in a Cell's in October. We do have Clash of Champions before then.
Shit. That is true. That is, could it even be a 3-match? I mean, because Nakamura and AJ feuded forever, so there is precedent. Yeah, that does muddy things. You have a good point there. Shit. You know what?
Fuck it. I'm picking Joe to win here. I think Joe's gonna win here, and then AJ is gonna win via disqualification at Clash of Champions, and then we'll get the Hell in a Cell match at Hell in a Cell, and AJ might even win the title back on that show. I don't know. We'll see.
Ooh, so you're going with a title change. Oh,
dude, you gotta realize, out of every single match that we've predicted, we've had, I think, 2 title changes, because we've had more than 2. Well, I was looking at the pre-show. We have 2, both of the titles on the pre-show we have changing, because I picked Gulak and the Revival. I think, did you pick Cedric to retain, or did you pick Gulak too?
I picked Cedric to retain.
Okay, so you picked Cedric. We both picked the Revival. So that's 1 for you, 2 for me. And then we both picked Nakamura to retain. We both picked Rollins to win the title. So that's 1 more title change. We both have both of the women's champions retaining, though. So I think 1 or both of the world titles needs to change hands on this show. And Samoa Joe, man, I'm going going all out. I'm picking Samoa Joe to win. I didn't even think I would do this. Coming into the show, I was fully expecting myself to pick AJ to retain. But now thinking about it, I think Joe wins the title here. I think AJ wins via disqualification at Clash of Champions. And then AJ might even win the title back at Hell in a Cell. But this is the match that needs to have a Hell in a Cell match at Hell in a Cell. And it needs to be their 3rd match, and it needs to be a rubber match. So, yeah, I'm picking Joe to win here. Title, all of the above, everything.
You're making that water look so fine, man. I want a cannonball right in that shit. Oh, my God, because Joe deserves it so much. And that would be the mark out of our live reactions. In fact, I'd probably mark out so hard that could be a winner for our what did we call it? What did we name the award after me for, like, freaking markouts? It'd probably be a contender for that award.
The Johnny.
The Johnny, yeah, it would definitely be a contender for the Johnny. Now I'm chuckling. Do I join you or not? Oh wait, what?
So I think it's Mets or Chris. No, who was it? It was Mets. It was Mets. It was Mets in chat. Just kind of filled us in. Hell in a Cell's in September this year.
Oh, knowing that, then I got to stick with my original prediction. I say, you know what? Because it would be weird for Joe to win 2 pay-per-views, I'm going to say that AJ wins, but Joe's going to have his foot underneath the bottom rope, his free leg, and the referee won't see it. So AJ wins, but we're going to have a setup for a rematch. We have to. Because I want Joe to come out the following night and be like, AJ, you didn't beat me. You survived me. Because you know that's exactly a Joe line. So
yeah, so here's the really weird thing.
Okay.
We have Hell in a Cell in 4 weeks from SummerSlam. It's on September 16th, so that's really soon. But then they have it as the Australia Super Showdown that's supposed to take place October 6th. They have that listed as a pay-per-view. So that might air on the network. I don't know what the hell's going on with that. But then the next one after that is Evolution and then Survivor Series in November. So October is a fucking weird month for WWE, because if Wikipedia is correct, we are going to have the Australia Super Showdown as like the primary pay-per-view, and then Evolution, the women's only pay-per-view, happen later in the month. So I have no clue how they're going to handle the booking there, and it really just makes me even more angry that we're no longer doing brand-specific pay-per-views, because that shit made everything so much easier.
Okay, I have a question for you, and then I have something else that I kind of want to interject in all this chaos. One, this Super Show in Australia, do you think they'll treat it like Greatest Royal Rumble, where it looks like a really shiny card, but nothing happens?
I don't know, dude. I don't know. They might. I don't know. Well, now that I'm seeing the matches that have been made for it, yeah, because they've got 2 matches set up for it right now: The Undertaker versus Triple H and John Cena versus Kevin Owens.
Yeah, that pretty much speaks for itself. But I think what we should...
So we're not going to have a true blue WWE pay-per-view featuring both men and women in between Hell in a Cell and Survivor Series. It's just going to be Hell in a Cell, then Super Showdown, then Evolution for the women, which is awesome, but doesn't really help the world title pictures, and then Survivor Series in November. It's just that.
There is one other show. Now, I don't want to like put all my eggs in this basket. I'm just putting it out there. There is one other show that I've kind of raised an eyebrow at.
Oh, the 1000th episode of SmackDown
on October 16th. Because
so that's October 16th. Okay.
Yeah, because they have here a triple main event. Styles versus Joe for the WWE title, Bryan versus Miz, and Hardy versus Orton. So,
wow.
You know what? That's a lot that's making my head spin. I'm just gonna go with the logic I had set up earlier. 2K19 still hasn't come out yet, but this can't be with how personal it's gotten. I mean, dude, just my personal opinion. I feel like Nakamura and Styles was significantly less personal than this, and they had how many matches together? So this isn't going to be a one pay-per-view thing. No fucking way. I say, again, AJ wins, but it's very controversial because Joe has his foot underneath the rope. Then Paige has to deal with that headache, but that's how we get our rematch. And I think Joe will win.
You know what, dude? I'm going to sign on to your stuff then, because I was under the impression that it was going to be SummerSlam, then in September Clash of Champions, then in October Hell in a Cell, and then Survivor Series. But knowing that we don't really have like a true pay-per-view in October, but we're going to be getting the SmackDown 1000 show, I got to agree with you. I got to go with AJ to win this match. I don't know if I'm going to, sign on to the whole foot under the rope thing for Joe or whatever, but Joe's going to get his rematch at Hell in a Cell and probably win the title there.
I guess rather than being that specific, let me put it to you this way. AJ's going to win, but he's going to win in a way that sets the table for a
controversial faction.
Exactly. I don't see him beating Joe straight up. I can't speak for you on that front. I can't see him beating Joe clean because he already fucking did that. He already lost clean to freaking Roman Reigns at Backlash. And I think he's been trying to find his footing since. And I don't think they're going to want to do him like that again. And I think AJ, while I love AJ, and this isn't meant as an insult, he's a different animal from Reigns. So, yeah, I see it definitely being controversial fashion. But I am so looking forward to this match. I've even been practicing in French, dropping fail bombs on AJ. So I am, so ready for this. And DBK has been somewhat coaching me, so that's been cool. But yeah,
that's amazing.
Should be an incredible match, and you guys may even hear me drop a fail bomb in French on AJ if he loses. Just a little bit of added incentive to go with the Samoan submission machine. But that was probably our most extensive discussion so far, and that's left us with one match, my friends. So let's get to it.
Yeah, and we've got Let's Do This versus the Big Dog. Ooh, Brock and Roman, number 4, I want to say. It might be 5. I don't fucking know. Dude, I let you go first for the last one, so I'll just come right out here. I think Brock's trying to retain. I think Brock's going to keep that damn title. I think a lot of people are going to be pissed off. I'm going to laugh my ass off if it happens. I think Brock is going to retain. I think Braun is probably going to cash in either the night of or the night after on Raw. So Braun is going to end up with the title by the end of, this coming Monday Night Raw. But I do think Brock's going to find a way to retain.
I agree.
Yes,
I agree. Look, dude, I don't know if it's the sadist in me, or maybe it's even the masochist, or maybe it's sadomasochistic, and it's both. I
guarantee you this is going to be the most enjoyable match on the entire show just because it's going to be fun laughing at it the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, dude, really, you just took the words straight out of my mouth because, and again, I'm not trying to rant here. I just got to be honest. This storyline is the funniest fucking shit.
Right?
It's hilarious to me simply by virtue of Roman talking shit. Oh, Brock's going to be my bit. What proof is there? This isn't even me ranting about what should be or whatever. This is me simply straight up looking at a story and being like, how do you expect me to believe this? How do you expect me to believe that you're going to do this when you've gotten in the ring with this man how many times? And you've gotten your ass beat. I can't believe it. And I do, in my honest opinion, I think WWE has done a very poor job in making me believe it. And here's the thing. I think we win either way. Because either Roman wins and we can finally collectively sigh of relief because, oh, thank fuck that kidney stone has passed. Or Brock retains. And like you, I'll even agree with you to the point that Braun's going to cash in tomorrow night because the closing image of Braun standing over Lesnar, I mean, it'd be great for SummerSlam, don't get me wrong. But for a Monday Night Raw with Eamon freaking out oh my God, Brock! Oh my God, Brock! Oh my God, Brock! What do we do? What do we do? And then Strowman's just posing with the title. Yeah, Yeah, and honestly, like it begs the question because again, on the Hell in a Cell card, it's listed as Owens versus Reigns. How do we do that? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe again, card does change, or if they keep it that way, maybe they'll find a way. Maybe Owens will interrupt Reigns like Joe did and would say, "Stop making excuses." You know, I didn't make excuses when I lost to Braun last night, and maybe that's how they get into shit. I don't know, but I'm not convinced that Reigns is winning the title. I mean, dude, you already know because I've made distinctions multiple times tonight what I think is going to happen and what I would love to happen. In my like cockamamie brain and my crazy ass, I would love if this was all an elaborate ruse for Heyman to screw Lesnar again for the second time in like 16 years.
Dude, yeah, like I think there might have even been a post on Reddit where someone was like, how great would it be if it was revealed that the note that Heyman gave Roman said, I'm going to spray you in the face with some water, take this beat down from Brock, and I'll help you win on Sunday.
Dude, I've even told you that. When we've played Rocket League together, I've told you, like, hey, Ashton, how hilarious would it be if the note was like, okay, Roman, I have to do this. Please forgive me. What?
Yeah. I know, dude. That would be the single greatest swerve in the wrestling history, I think, honestly. But obviously, being just the fact that I'm saying that, the fact that I'm, talking about something and then saying how great it would be, that tells you that WWE is never going to do it.
Oh, no. But see, like, this is why we need to dream to get through it, because I would fucking live for the promo the night after, Heyman standing smugly by Roman's side, Universal title over the shoulder of his $5,000 suit, as he says, oh, were all of you outraged that I feigned being hurt after getting maced in the eyes? It's irrelevant. Holds the title up, yeah! Obviously never going to happen, but like, I don't know, man. And here is where I genuinely have conflict, and I just have to be honest. I used to believe the narrative that people like they want to get Roman Reigns over, and it's like give him that sympathy. And part of me still does believe that. But like, if he loses to a guy so many times, I have never seen WWE have like a finger that itching on the trigger just without pulling it. For fuck's sake, they pulled it on Mahal for expanding into a new market. Like, WWE is prone to experiment when they want to. They're going to do what they want to do. So
when they feel that it is beneficial and financially could help them out.
Exactly. Like, they're just going to do what they want to do, especially for those reasons, as you mentioned. So sooner or later, I'm going to question, is this really like an elaborate thing that we all come up and complain about? Like, oh, it's not working, WWE. Or is it just a simpler thing that maybe they just don't have faith in the guy, but like he still aesthetically fits that spot. And so it's whatever. And it's not like really you have any other contenders. You could have had Lashley, but then you had Roman get the win back, and now Lashley's working with freaking Elias, which I don't understand. I don't want to understand it. It's really just my kind of thing. I have no faith in Roman whatsoever. And again, if he wins, fine. We have a full-time Universal Champion. We can get on to new stories. And God knows I want us to get on new stories. Seth Rollins has already said in an interview. It's been getting a lot of flack. Like, I want Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns for WrestleMania 35. Rollins is already one of my early guys to win the Royal Rumble next year. So,
wow.
I would freaking love that if that happened. And I haven't said it in a while because, I have a campaign every minute right now. I'm just focused on Andrade and Zelina owning SmackDown. But yeah, I did say several months ago, like I was thinking about Rollins being that guy that goes the distance if they wouldn't give it to Bryan. But even if Rollins doesn't win the Rumble, that we have chamber matches to determine contenders. I would love to see Rollins compete for the Universal title at WrestleMania. If Reigns would happen to be the guy, I don't give a shit. If it's Lesnar, I don't give a shit. Really, I want the belt to end up on Rollins is my ultimate goal.
Right.
But that's not going to be achieved here. So I say you just go with the guy that Heyman is always like, oh, he can't be beat. And I would love if the guy to finally take Lesnar down a peg was a guy that, like, for most people and their perceptions of dominance and stuff, couldn't do it. Because, Seth isn't this hulking guy like Brock is, but he's got the technique and he's got the athleticism and he pulls out the upset. So I'm just going to go with Brock. I say Strowman cashes in, though, on Raw, and then maybe we'd have to worry about Seth topping Strowman. Who the hell knows? But I just don't think, essentially, they're going to pull the trigger on Roman, and I don't think it's an elaborate ruse anymore. Again, I used to believe that. I just, on some level, think they don't have faith in him to be that guy. I think he fits the aesthetic of a main event role, but that's it. And they're just maybe looking for Braun and then maybe just something else down the pike. But essentially, yeah, I agree with you completely. Brock's retaining, and I'm going to laugh my ass off with you. And I hope you do one of those guttural laughs where it's just like, that every person is just collectively destroying their computer and you're just reveling in it. Like, that'll be freaking great for our live.
I do want to add, Hypothesis said something that I definitely agree with. There's a really good chance that in our scenario, since we both have Braun keeping the Money in the Bank, I think there's a really good chance that he'll cash in during the match to, in a way, kind of protect whoever wins the match. Because if you win a match and then get cashed in on, it's like, oh, well, you have like your breath back now and you've taken a little bit of a break and, there's been some time between the matches and stuff. Whereas if someone cashes in during the match, that's just pure chaos and confusion and nobody knows what's going on. So I think there's a really good chance Braun will cash in during the match. And really, I mean, I hate to kind of suggest that WWE would be willing to do this because they might not. They actually probably won't. But would anyone really be surprised if Braun Strowman cashed in at the beginning of the match to make it a triple threat, like from the beginning?
I wouldn't be surprised. I think that fit Braun's character perfectly. Like, what better way to assert your dominance than the two guys that have been chosen over you, to be in this spot. So yeah, that fits his character perfectly. I could totally
his music hits before the match, before the bell rings, and he just says I've been saying for so many weeks now that I'm gonna be the next Universal Champion, and I'm not gonna leave it up to risk. I'm cashing in now.
Damn. Yeah, I'd love that, man. I think that'd be a great moment for Braun for sure. We'll see, man.
Yeah. Oh, see, Chris Venegas even just said that what I was just saying. Yeah. I definitely think that that's a possibility. I don't think that's most likely, but I do think it is within the range of possibilities. I think I would say the most likely scenario is Braun literally just pulls a Seth and just cashes in as these guys are worn down after they've already hit, 4 or 5 finishers on each other and that kind of shit.
Well, do you want to, because I know you said at the beginning, you were just very straightforward, Brock's retaining. Do you want to switch up your prediction and say that Braun's going to enter a triple threat? Or do you still think that Braun's retaining or Brock's retaining in that case?
Well, if Braun doesn't cash in before the end of the match, Brock retains, then Braun cashes in. But if Braun cashes in during the match, then I'll just predict Braun to win the title.
Oh, and that's fair. I just want to know, definitively, where are you falling on as far as the structure of the SummerSlam match itself? Do you think it's going to be kept 1-1, or do you really like?
No, I think now that it's kind of out there and in the universe, I will say, yeah, I think the most likely scenario is Braun will cash in before the end of the match and just win the title outright.
Okay, and just to clean up, because I know I said a lot of stuff, and just to cut straight through it, I do think Brock's going to retain, and I will co-sign onto your earlier theory. Braun will cash in tomorrow night on Raw, and he'll close Raw out as the new Universal Champion.
All right, that's fair. That's definitely that honestly is probably the most WWE thing to do, because they're all about getting viewers for the next show, and we can have Brock close the night out as the champion and everyone's disappointed, but then everyone has to tune in on Monday to see what happens with Brock as the champion, to see who his next challenger is and stuff. And then you get Braun cashing in. So yeah, that's a really, really good prediction. I think I'm just hoping for the best. So I'm kind of wishful thinking, making a prediction based on what I would most be excited by. And that's Braun cashing in during the match. So.
All right, man. Sounds good to me.
Well, that's it. That's all the matches, man. We made it through all 13 and it only took us 68 minutes. How about that?
Yeah, I think it's because there was so much agreement there, man. You and I really ended up coming down on the same side.
That's so weird, because I was really expecting us to I thought that a lot of the stuff that I was going to predict was going to be stuff that you were like, wow, I did not expect that, and we would end up in a longer discussion about it. But I guess you just had the same thing in mind about the same matches, and it just turned out that we both had the against the grain picks about the same matches.
Yeah, man, absolutely. That's really
kind of funny.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody who came out for our SummerSlam preview and predictions. I will say that us talking about it, and especially you with all your workings out with Joe, even though you came to some realizations later, oh, it may not really work out that way, but it got me even more pumped for the Joe AJ match, because, oh man, what if Joe does become WWE champion? So I'll even say that I think this preview and predictions up my hype a little bit. I'm going to be now at an even 8 out of 10. I'm psyched. I'm ready for Joe to whoop that ass. So, yeah, I can't wait for Sunday to get here, only to be inevitably disappointed because what else would my life be, right?
Well, the good news is Saturday is going to not disappoint.
Absolutely. And I got confirmation from Abel that if AJ does beat Joe 2 straight pay-per-views or more, just like he did Nakamura, that we can hold each other and cry afterwards. So I still win. And yeah, Saturday is going to be amazing. So I'm ready for it, guys. I'm now sitting at a pretty 8 out of 10. I want to thank everybody that liked the video. I want to thank everybody that came out and heard our predictions and shared their own. You guys are all amazing, and I hope we see you Saturday at 8 for Takeover Brooklyn 4 live reactions. And in the meantime, I'm just going to hand it over to Ashton to take us home.
Yeah, I'm going to say I'm kind of upgraded a little bit too, but I upgraded the same amount as you by half a point. I'll give it a 7 now. I'm a little more excited about it, but really, you know, it's all about Saturday. And then honestly, I'm more excited about the post SummerSlam Raw and SmackDown to find out where we're going for Hell in a Cell. So that's going to be a lot of fun, guys. Remember to like the video if you haven't already. And of course, subscribe to the channel if you are new. And if you are new, welcome to your new favorite wrestling podcast. Of course, you can also click that bell to get notified whenever we go live or upload a video. I saw at the very beginning of chat, as soon as we went live, Jacob Dubb came in, notification squad. That's what I like to see right there. And we also, I mean, very early on, we already had Jacob and Abel and Alex Foster and Ella. It was like the party was already started as soon as we went live, which is great. Awesome to see you guys showing up as soon as we go live. That's got to be some notification stuff. And of course, I also want to remind you guys to follow both John and myself on Twitter, because John over here has the Q&A questions that you're going to be asking. He's going to, you know, he's got his pinned tweet. You reply to his pinned tweet and ask the questions for Q&A. We answer them. Q&A is not this coming Thursday, but the following. It is Thursday the 30th. So, excuse me. My pinned tweet is the TwitWow schedule. So if you want to know what shows we've got coming up, when we're going to be going live, and you would rather know ahead of time rather than waiting to get notified, you can follow me, and then you can set my notifications to on Twitter, and you will be able to get notified when we go live, and you'll be able to check out my pinned tweet and see the TwitWow schedule, and you'll be able to know automatically that, yeah, our next show, we're going to be live reacting to TakeOver Brooklyn 4 tomorrow evening at 7. Then we're going to be live reacting to SummerSlam. We're going to be doing the pre-show matches, and then obviously the main show in whole. We are also going to be live reacting to Monday Night Raw and SmackDown and 205 Live and Lucha Underground on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And then, of course, we'll be reviewing Lucha Underground as well. And then Thursday, we've got our first afternoon recording since G1 ended in our 5th edition of 5 Fave 5s. And then it all starts again the following week with SmackDown, 205, and Lucha. And then we've got August Q&A that week as well. So that's our schedule for the rest of August. And then September, we're pretty much done as far as WWE goes, but obviously we're still going to be covering the stuff that you guys pay for on the Patreon, which again, if you get to $40 but not $80, we'll be doing 205 live reactions every week. If you get to $80 but not $120, we'll be doing SmackDown only and not 205. But if you do hit that $120 mark on Patreon, we'll be live reacting to both SmackDown and 205 Live every week of the following month. We're doing both this month. I'm hoping to be able to continue doing both for September, but right now that's looking very unlikely because we are only at 98. So if that does happen, if we only hit the 98 and we don't hit the 120, we'll live react to SmackDown every week, but then we'll close out before 205 Live ends, and we won't be live reacting to 205 Live at all in September. Not only is that really cool for you guys to be able to kind of control, whether we live react to SmackDown, 205 Live, that kind of stuff, but you get a lot more control when you donate to the Patreon, because also your donations will accumulate in a special little kind of account just for you. So if you donate, say, $10 over a 3-month period, 10, 10, 10, that's up to $30. And by the end of those 3 months, you can then request a 3-hour wrestling video live reaction. We will live react to a 3-hour show of your choosing, because the way the live reaction pricing works is basically $10 per hour of content you want us to live react to. And that right there is your ability to control what we do on the channel. Plus, obviously, just donating a minimum of $3 a month gets you into the Discord, which is great. Lots of great conversations go on there. Everyone kind of keeps everyone up on news and tweets and crazy stuff that goes on in the wrestling business. Plus, we get to kind of talk to each other about things that are going on in our personal lives and our passions and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun. The TwitWow Discord is a wonderful place, and we hope that you guys are at least interested in getting in there because we want more of you. So, last things that I want to ask you guys to do, like the Facebook page, buy our merch on Teespring, and biggest thing, share this video and this channel with all of your wrestling fan friends. Let them in on the best kept secret in the YouTube wrestling community. We are the workhorses of the YWC, and we continue to prove it and will continue to prove it for as long as we're around, which will be as long as we feel like it, which is probably going to be for a long ass time. So it's been a lot of fun, guys. We hope that you all enjoyed. We will see you all for our live reactions to both this on Sunday and TakeOver tomorrow on Saturday. But of course, the most important thing you can do is remember to stay tuned.